Commander Jason Hale stared out of the starship window as the planet Vera grew larger in view. The swirling colors of its atmosphere shimmered like liquid glass, painting the sky in shades of blue and violet. He had traveled across hundreds of light years to reach this world, a place spoken of in whispers across the Galactic Council. Vera was beautiful, yes, but it was also infamous. The planet was home to the Verans, an alien species known throughout the galaxy for their extraordinary strength, intelligence, and peculiar customs. Jason shook his head, trying to calm the mix of excitement and nerves buzzing inside him. He had faced dangerous missions, alien pirates, and deadly space storms, but nothing quite prepared him for what lay ahead. He was here to attend a diplomatic wedding, a rare event where humans were allowed to participate in Veran traditions. The twist? The bride's family had a tradition that tested every groom through a series of challenges designed to reveal a suitor's worth. Some said the trials were impossible. Many human men had tried to impress a Veran bride before, and all had failed. The shuttle landed on a smooth, glowing platform near a city built entirely of crystalline towers. Light refracted in millions of directions, creating patterns on the ground that shifted like waves on water. Jason stepped out, feeling the planet's gentle gravity wrap around him. It was slightly lighter than Earth's, and every step made him feel almost like he was floating. A soft voice broke his concentration. "Welcome, Jason Hale." He turned to see her. Lyra, the Veran bride. She was taller than a human, slender and elegant, with translucent skin that glimmered faintly under Vera's twin suns. Her eyes were large, golden, and curious, studying him as if weighing his soul. There was a small, mischievous smile on her face that made Jason's stomach twist in nervous excitement. "You've traveled far," she said, her voice musical but firm. "I hope you are ready. Our wedding night is not like your Earth celebrations." Jason forced a confident smile. "I think I can handle it." Lyra laughed softly, a sound that reminded him of wind chimes. "We shall see." The city around them was alive with celebration. Verans moved gracefully across the crystalline streets, their garments shimmering with colors that shifted as they walked. Holographic lights hovered above the crowd, displaying the couple's journey for all to see. Humans were few among them, their presence a rare spectacle. Jason felt the weight of eyes on him, curious, skeptical, even amused. Inside the wedding hall, the architecture left him speechless. The walls were made of crystal, but they were alive, pulsing with a soft glow that matched the rhythm of the music. The ceiling reflected the twin suns outside, creating a dazzling canopy that felt like staring directly into space. Lyra led him to a high platform at the center of the hall where the ceremony would begin. "Tonight is a test," she said, her voice low so only he could hear. "Not of strength alone, but of mind, heart, and spirit. Many have tried and failed, but if you succeed, you will earn respect, not only from me, but from all my people." Jason swallowed hard. He had expected challenges, yes, but hearing it directly from Lyra made it real. His pulse quickened, not from fear, but from determination. He was human, and humans were known across the stars for their resilience and adaptability. Whatever trials awaited him, he would face them with wit, courage, and patience. The first guests began to arrive. Verans of all shapes and sizes glided into the hall. Some had wings, others had shimmering tails, and many had bioluminescent markings that danced across their skin. They observed Jason with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. He straightened his shoulders and reminded himself, this is more than a challenge. This is a chance to show what humans can do. Lyra extended her hand, and Jason took it. The touch was firm, yet gentle. And he felt a surge of energy, like standing on the edge of a new world, ready to leap. "Shall we begin?" she asked. Jason nodded. Let's. The music shifted. Crystalline doors slid open, revealing a corridor that seemed to stretch into infinity. Holographic patterns floated in the air, forming shapes that twisted and turned with each step. Jason felt a thrill of anticipation. Whatever lay ahead, it was clear. This wedding night would test every part of him, and somehow, deep inside, he knew he was ready. The doors closed behind them, the crowd's murmur fading. Ahead, the first challenge awaited, a labyrinth of light and illusion, designed to trap the mind and break the will. Jason took a deep breath and stepped forward. Human or not, he would not fail. The corridor ahead of Jason glimmered like liquid crystal, stretching farther than he could see. Holographic lights floated in the air, twisting and folding into shapes that made his head spin. The walls shimmered with moving patterns, casting dancing shadows across his face. Every step he took echoed softly, a reminder that he was alone with the bride, Lyra, and whatever challenges awaited him. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "The first challenge begins here," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was an undercurrent of amusement. "This test will challenge your mind. Many suitors enter confident, believing strength alone is enough. They do not last more than a few minutes." Jason raised an eyebrow, trying to hide his nervousness. "I'm not just strong," he said with a wry smile. "I'm also, clever." Lyra laughed softly, the sound like wind through chimes. "We shall see." They entered a large chamber. The floor was smooth and mirrored, reflecting the shifting light from the walls. But the moment Jason stepped inside, the room changed. Holographic walls rose from the floor, creating a maze of shimmering light. The air seemed thicker here, almost charged with energy, and the patterns on the walls shifted as if alive. "This is the labyrinth of thoughts," Lyra explained. "It adapts to your mind. Every fear, every doubt, every hesitation becomes part of the puzzle. Many suitors become trapped in loops of their own imagination." Jason felt a shiver run down his spine. He had heard stories of this challenge. No alien suitor had ever completed it. And yet, he reminded himself, "I am human. Humans survive impossible odds every day. This is no different." A holographic figure appeared in front of him, glowing softly. It had no distinct shape, yet it spoke in a voice that seemed to come from inside his mind. "Welcome, human. Solve the puzzle or remain here forever." Jason nodded. "I don't scare easily." The figure vanished, and the first illusion appeared. The walls shifted to show a series of doors, each glowing with a different color. Behind each door, Jason could sense faint echoes of memories, some of his own, some he could not place. He stepped toward the first door. The moment his hand touched the surface, a vision burst into his mind. He was back on Earth, standing in a burning building. Smoke filled his lungs. Flames crackled around him, and he could hear the cries of people trapped inside. Jason gasped and stumbled backward, but then he took a deep breath, grounding himself. He remembered his training. Fear is an illusion. Focus on the task, not the panic. He shut his eyes, centering himself, and reopened them. The flames disappeared, replaced by the holographic maze. "Impressive," Lyra's voice whispered. "Many would be trapped here forever." Jason pressed on, moving through the maze. Each door he touched triggered a new illusion. At one, he found himself floating alone in space, with meteors streaking past him. At another, he faced alien creatures that seemed to leer at him, their eyes glowing red. At each step, he felt panic rise, but he resisted. Humans had survived far worse, the vacuum of space, hostile worlds, and the unknown. "I can handle this too," he told himself. Hours seemed to pass. Time was strange here. The maze shifted constantly, forming new paths and collapsing old ones. Jason began to notice a pattern. The illusions were not random. They reflected his thoughts, his fears, and even his expectations. The maze was testing not just his mind, but his self-awareness. He remembered something his grandmother used to tell him. When faced with a puzzle you cannot solve, change the way you look at it. Jason closed his eyes and let his mind wander. He imagined the maze as a river, flowing around him rather than blocking him. When he opened his eyes, the walls no longer seemed threatening. They were paths to follow. He started to speak aloud, narrating his journey. I am Jason Hale. I am human. I face challenges and I will not fail. The words gave him strength. The illusions began to falter. A door that had appeared as a roaring waterfall became just a simple path. A wall that had seemed like a cliff became a gentle slope. Lyra watched silently, her eyes bright with curiosity. Humans were rarely so adaptable. Most suitors tried to brute force their way through, relying on strength or intellect alone. Jason's approach was different. He observed, he adapted, he remained calm. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time here was unreliable. Jason faced illusions of failure, loss, and fear, but he kept moving. He laughed at some of the absurd images, a giant talking rabbit lecturing him on philosophy, a floating piano that played discordant notes while demanding he dance. Humans had a strange sense of humor, he realized, and sometimes humor could break fear. He smiled, and the maze shifted, opening new paths. Finally, he reached the center of the labyrinth. The holographic walls dissolved into nothing, leaving only a glowing platform. Lyra stepped forward, her expression unreadable. You have lasted longer than any other suitor, she said, not because you are stronger, but because you think differently. You adapt, you endure, you persist. Jason bowed slightly, feeling relief and pride. I am just human, he said. Lyra smiled softly. Exactly, and that is why humans are remarkable. The labyrinth faded completely, replaced by a soft glow that filled the chamber. The mental strain was immense, but Jason felt exhilarated. He had survived illusions designed to break his mind, and he had done so by being human. Clever, adaptable, and resilient. As they exited the chamber, the corridor shimmered again. Holographic lights formed a path forward, leading to the next trial. Jason felt a new sense of confidence. The first challenge had been terrifying, yes, but he had prevailed. The Vayrans were observing him, and even they could not hide their respect. Lyra walked beside him, her steps graceful and light. The first trial is complete, she said, but this is only the beginning. My people value strength, wit, and endurance in equal measure. The next trial will test your body, not just your mind. Jason nodded, rubbing his tired temples. Then let's see what humans can do. He noticed a subtle shift in Lyra's expression. Approval, yes, but also amusement. She had expected him to fail, to crumble under the illusions. Instead, he had persisted. Humans, she realized, were unpredictable. Their minds worked differently, often in ways that even the most intelligent Vayrans could not anticipate. The corridor led them to a vast chamber filled with floating platforms and zero-gravity fields. Jason glanced around, feeling the first thrill of the physical challenge ahead. But he did not fear it. The labyrinth had prepared him. He had faced the impossible and survived. Now, his body would be tested, and he knew that human endurance and ingenuity would guide him again. Before entering the next chamber, Jason paused. He looked at the stars visible through the crystalline ceiling. Earth was far away, a tiny dot among billions of worlds. And yet, he felt a connection to it in that moment. The courage, determination, and resilience of humanity carried with him across the galaxy. Lyra extended her hand once more. Are you ready for the next test? Jason smiled, feeling a spark of excitement. I was born ready. She nodded. a flicker of respect in her golden eyes. "Very well, human. Let us see how you endure when the body, not the mind, is challenged." And with that, they stepped into the next chamber, leaving behind the labyrinth but carrying with them a quiet truth. Humans were extraordinary. They could endure, adapt, and overcome in ways that even the most advanced aliens found difficult to predict. The first trial was over, but the night was just beginning. The corridor led Jason and Lyra to a vast chamber, one unlike any human arena he had ever seen. The walls were made of smooth, translucent crystal, curving upward into a dome that seemed to stretch endlessly. The floor shimmered with a soft, silvery glow. But what caught Jason's attention most was the absence of gravity. Here he floated lightly above the ground, every movement feeling strange and exhilarating. Lyra turned to him, her golden eyes shining with challenge. This trial tests strength, agility, and endurance. Many suitors fail because they rely on brute force. Here, the body must think as much as the mind. You must move with the environment, not against it. Jason exhaled slowly. He had survived the mental labyrinth, proving his mind could adapt. Now it was time to prove his body could follow. He stretched his arms and legs experimentally, pushing off the floor and feeling himself float forward. The sensation was disorienting at first. Every action produced an equal reaction, sending him spinning or tumbling if he moved too quickly. Humans were not designed for zero gravity, but Jason reminded himself, adaptation is what makes us strong. At the far end of the chamber, floating platforms hovered like stepping stones, arranged in a twisting pattern. Each platform was small, some spinning slowly, others oscillating like pendulums. The goal was simple: traverse the platforms without touching the walls or falling into the open space between them. Simple in theory, terrifying in practice. Lyra gestured toward the first platform. "Begin," she said. "Remember, the floor is not your friend here. You must rely on balance, timing, and coordination. Many have tried and failed before sunrise." Jason nodded and pushed off gently, aiming for the first platform. His hand brushed its surface, and he felt it wobble beneath him. He caught his balance by shifting his weight and exhaling slowly, letting instinct guide him. Step by step, he moved forward, spinning slowly as he adjusted to the irregular motion of each platform. A sudden burst of light revealed holographic obstacles above him. Floating spheres that moved unpredictably, glowing lines that sliced through the air. They were designed to test reflexes and decision-making under pressure. Jason ducked and twisted to avoid them, using subtle movements to redirect his momentum. His body, though human, was flexible and resilient, and his mind calculated angles and trajectories instinctively. Lyra watched silently, floating nearby, her movements graceful and effortless. Humans often struggled with zero gravity, she knew, yet Jason's approach was remarkable. He did not fight the environment. He worked with it, turning its challenges into advantages. Halfway through the course, a platform tilted unexpectedly. Jason lost his balance for a moment, spinning uncontrollably. Panic flickered in his chest, but he remembered the labyrinth. Stay calm. Adapt. Observe. He extended his arms and legs, using the motion to guide him toward a nearby platform. With a final push, he landed, steady and unshaken. The next section of the trial was even more complex. Platforms rotated, rose, and fell in patterns that seemed random. Jason had to think ahead, predicting movements, timing leaps, and using subtle bursts of energy from his limbs to propel himself accurately. His heart pounded, but his determination never wavered. Each mistake taught him something new. Each success built his confidence. A moment came when he was trapped between two spinning platforms. One platform rotated clockwise, the other counterclockwise. There was no simple path forward. He studied their rhythm carefully, noting the slightest irregularities. Then, with precise timing, he leaped from one platform to the other, twisting in midair to land safely. He exhaled with satisfaction. Humans may not be naturally suited for zero gravity, but their creativity and problem-solving gave them an edge no brute strength could match. Lyra's golden eyes widened slightly. "Few would have calculated the timing so precisely," she murmured. "Humans, your species surprises me." Jason pressed on. The final section of the trial required not only agility, but endurance. Platforms became smaller, moving faster, and obstacles multiplied. A holographic wave surged toward him, forcing him to leap over spinning barriers while avoiding invisible currents of energy. Sweat gathered on his brow, his muscles burned, yet he continued, driven by determination and the unshakable belief that failure was not an option. At one point, a floating ring appeared before him, shimmering with alien symbols. Passing through it triggered another holographic illusion. A gust of wind-like force pushed him backward, and another ring appeared above, forcing him to leap higher than he had imagined possible. Jason hesitated for only a fraction of a second, then focused. He timed his jump perfectly, passing through the rings in sequence, and felt a surge of triumph. The chamber seemed to hum with energy as he neared the final platform. It floated higher, above a glowing pit of light, its surface smaller than any he had stepped on before. Jason's arms and legs ached. His breathing was rapid, but he steadied himself. Humans were not naturally gifted in this environment, yet they were relentless. He inhaled deeply, analyzed the platform's rotation, and pushed off with precise force, landing gracefully on the final step. A burst of light filled the chamber, signaling the trial's completion. Jason floated in the center, chest heaving, muscles trembling, but triumphant. He had endured not through raw strength alone, but through observation, timing, and relentless persistence. His human adaptability had carried him where others had failed. Lyra descended beside him, her golden eyes bright with admiration. "You have surpassed my expectations," she said softly. "Most suitors would have failed long ago. Your ability to endure, adapt, and think under pressure is remarkable." Jason wiped sweat from his brow, smiling despite exhaustion. "I just kept moving," he said, and remembered to stay calm. "Humans are persistent, I guess." Lyra laughed softly, a musical sound that echoed through the chamber. Persistent indeed, and that is why humans often succeed where others falter. As they floated toward the exit, Jason glanced back at the zero-gravity arena. He had faced a test designed to break even the most capable beings. Many alien suitors would have relied on raw power or speed, failing because they underestimated the environment. Jason had relied on observation, ingenuity, and adaptability, human traits that allowed him to endure. The crowd of Vayrans outside the chamber erupted in soft applause. Though they had seen many suitors fail, Jason's performance was different. He had not simply survived. He had excelled, proving that humans were not to be underestimated. Lyra floated beside him, a playful spark in her eyes. "The physical challenge is complete," she said. "But the night is far from over. My people value not just mind and body, but heart as well. The next trial will test your spirit, your patience, and your ability to connect across cultures." Jason nodded, still catching his breath. The mental labyrinth and the zero-gravity arena had tested his mind and body. Now, he would face emotional and cultural challenges, proving that human resilience extended beyond survival. It included empathy, understanding, and humor. He looked at the twin suns of Vera shining through the crystalline ceiling. The night had already been extraordinary. He had adapted to alien illusions, navigated a gravity-defying arena, and endured challenges designed to push him beyond human limits. And yet he felt excitement rather than fear. Humans thrived in the impossible. That was their nature. As they entered the next corridor, Jason felt a quiet confidence settle within him. The first two trials had been brutal, yes, but they had also revealed something extraordinary. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and clever. They could face unknown challenges, endure intense pressure, and emerge stronger on the other side. Lyra glanced at him, her expression unreadable but her golden eyes warm. "Few humans would have survived both trials," she said. "But you have done more than survive. You have impressed, and that is rare." Jason smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and anticipation. "Thank you," he said, "but I think the best is yet to come." Lyra tilted her head, curious. "Indeed, we shall see. The next test will not be simple. It will require patience, understanding, and the ability to navigate unfamiliar traditions. Many suitors fail here because they expect brute force to solve all problems. You will see how your human ingenuity fares." Jason laughed softly. "I'm ready for it. Humans have a habit of surprising even the smartest aliens." She smiled, a flicker of amusement in her gaze. "That they do." And with that, they floated toward the next chamber, leaving the zero-gravity arena behind. Jason's body ached, his muscles trembled, but his spirit was strong. He had survived challenges meant to test and break the strongest beings, and as he moved forward, he knew that the human qualities of ingenuity, persistence, and adaptability would carry him through the trials yet to come. The night was far from over, and the challenges would only grow harder. But Jason Hale was human, and humans endured. Jason followed Lyra through a series of crystal corridors, leaving behind the shimmering zero-gravity arena. The first two trials had tested his mind and body, pushing him to limits he had never imagined. Now, however, the challenge would be unlike any other. This chamber was not about strength or agility. It was about understanding, patience, and connection, the essence of emotional and cultural endurance. The door to the next room slid open silently, revealing a vast hall filled with soft light and delicate sounds. Floating patterns of color shifted through the air like living paintings. The walls pulsed gently, reacting to movement and emotion. Jason paused for a moment, taking in the atmosphere. There was no immediate danger, no physical obstacle, and yet, he sensed the trial would be just as difficult as the labyrinth or the zero-gravity arena. Lyra floated beside him, graceful as ever. "This test will challenge your heart, your patience, and your ability to navigate unfamiliar customs," she said. "Many suitors enter this chamber confident in their skill, thinking mind or body alone will carry them through. They fail because they underestimate the power of understanding and empathy." Jason nodded slowly. "I've learned that humans often succeed where others don't, by listening, observing, and adapting." Lyra's eyes sparkled with approval. "Indeed. Let us begin." As they stepped forward, holographic images appeared, showing Varen families, traditions, and celebrations. The first task was simple in concept but complex in execution. Jason had to participate in a ceremonial greeting, a ritual that involved subtle gestures, precise timing, and a deep understanding of Varen etiquette. One wrong movement could cause offense, ending the trial immediately. Jason studied Lyra carefully. Her expressions, movements, and subtle signals gave him clues. He recalled what he had learned in the previous trials. Observe first, react second. Slowly, deliberately, he mimicked the gestures, ensuring each motion respected the customs he had just begun to understand. The Varen observers floating in the hall watched closely, their expressions difficult for humans to read. Some tilted their heads, others crossed their arms or raised a hand. Jason's human ability to read patterns and respond with adaptability served him well. Each gesture, each step, was a calculated act of empathy and understanding. The ritual concluded successfully, and the hall transformed. Soft, warm light bathed the room as new illusions appeared. Jason was now presented with scenes designed to test emotional endurance. He saw holographic families celebrating, arguments erupting, moments of joy and grief. Each scene evoked feelings within him: compassion, sorrow, curiosity. But he understood that the purpose was not to react with fear or judgment, but with comprehension and patience. At one point, a holographic child appeared, lost and afraid. Jason instinctively bent down to comfort it, speaking softly in human tones, even though he knew the child was not real. The simulation responded, the child's fear fading under his calm presence. He realized the trial was teaching him to respond to the unfamiliar with empathy, to bridge the gap between species with understanding rather than force. Lyra floated nearby, observing silently. Many humans would have ignored the child, focusing only on completing the task quickly. Your choice to connect, to act with care, demonstrates the human capacity for compassion. Jason smiled faintly. We survive not just by fighting, but by understanding one another. That includes the unknown. The next series of challenges tested his patience further. He was presented with a set of puzzles, each requiring him to collaborate with holographic Vayrans. The puzzles were designed to be solved through communication, not speed or strength. Jason had to interpret alien expressions, anticipate needs, and respond appropriately. Misunderstanding even a single cue could result in failure. Hours seemed to pass as he moved through these trials. Each moment demanded focus and emotional control. Frustration rose occasionally, especially when a puzzle seemed impossible to solve or when a holographic participant reacted unpredictably. But Jason reminded himself of the lessons he had already learned: persistence, observation, and adaptation. Slowly, carefully, he completed each task, earning the subtle nods and silent approval of Lyra. A particularly difficult test appeared near the center of the hall. Jason faced a holographic Veyran elder, their features unreadable and their expressions stern. The elder presented a moral dilemma, a choice between two courses of action, neither perfect, both with consequences. Jason had to decide not by instinct or selfish desire, but by understanding Veyran values and anticipating how his decision would be perceived. He thought carefully. This is not about me. This is about respect, understanding, and collaboration. He chose the path that honored the elder's values while remaining true to his own ethics. The holographic elder's expression softened slightly, and a wave of light washed over the room, a signal that the trial had been successfully completed. Lyra's smile widened. You understand more than many humans, or Vayrans, ever have. You act not just with strength or intelligence, but with empathy and discernment. That is a rare quality. Jason felt a surge of pride, but also humility. He had learned much tonight, not only about the Vayrans, but about the human spirit itself. Humans were curious, adaptable, and resilient, but they were also capable of great compassion and understanding. These qualities, he realized, were as important as strength or intelligence when facing the unknown. The final portion of the emotional trial involved a cultural ceremony. Jason was invited to share a story from his own world, a human tradition, and weave it into a Veyran ritual. He hesitated only briefly, considering the importance of respect and clarity. Then he began to speak, describing a human celebration of community and courage. As he told the story, the Veyran audience responded with attention and subtle acknowledgement, their gestures mirroring those he had observed throughout the night. Lyra's eyes shone with admiration. You have not only endured the trials, Jason Hale, but you have enriched our understanding of humanity. Your presence here shows that humans can connect across worlds, not by imposing themselves, but by listening, observing, and sharing. That is extraordinary. Jason felt relief and exhilaration. He had faced illusions of fear, puzzles of patience, moral dilemmas, and complex cultural rituals, and he had succeeded through observation, empathy, and human creativity. Each moment had demanded his focus and his heart, and he had risen to the challenge. As the chamber transformed one final time, soft light bathing the hall, Lyra extended her hand. The emotional and cultural trials are complete. You have proven more than resilience. You have shown that the human spirit is capable of bridging worlds, understanding the unknown, and finding connection where others might see only difference. Jason smiled, taking her hand. Thank you. I've learned a lot tonight. Not just about your world, but about what humans can do when we face the impossible. Lyra's eyes softened. And that is why you have lasted where others have failed. Your mind, your body, and now your heart have been tested. Few beings, human or Varen, could endure all three. The hall shifted once more, revealing a corridor bathed in the soft glow of dawn. Jason knew the final challenge awaited, the culmination of mind, body, and heart. But he felt ready. The mental labyrinth had sharpened his intellect. The zero-gravity arena had tested his endurance and ingenuity. The emotional and cultural trials had strengthened his empathy and patience. He glanced at Lyra. I think humans are full of surprises, he said lightly, though there was truth in his words. We can endure more than most expect. And when we work together, well, we can face almost anything. Lyra's golden eyes sparkled. Indeed. Humans are remarkable, Jason. And now, you are ready for the final trial. One that will test everything you have learned tonight. Strength, wit, patience, and heart will all be required. Few have reached this point, and fewer still have succeeded. Jason took a deep breath. The night had already been extraordinary, filled with challenges that would have broken others. But humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans found ways to overcome the impossible. He felt a quiet confidence settle within him. Then let's see what the last challenge holds, he said. Lyra smiled, her expression a mix of amusement and respect. Very well. Let us see if a human can truly rise above every trial. The dawn is near, and with it the ultimate test of endurance begins. Jason felt excitement and anticipation coursing through him. The night had already revealed the best of humanity: curiosity, adaptability, perseverance, and empathy. The final trial would demand all of that, and more. But he was ready. Humans had faced impossible odds countless times in their history. This was just another challenge, one to meet with courage, heart, and ingenuity. As they stepped toward the last chamber, Jason looked out at the rising light filtering through the crystalline walls. The twin suns of Vera painted the corridors in gold and violet, signaling that the night's end, and the ultimate test, was approaching. He took a steadying breath, feeling the combined strength of mind, body, and spirit. Whatever awaited him in the final trial, he knew this truth. Humans endure. Humans rise. Humans prevail. And Jason Hale, human among stars, was about to prove it once more. Jason stepped into the final chamber with a mixture of anticipation and calm. The last trials had tested his mind, body, and heart. Now, this chamber would test all three at once, combining challenge, endurance, and judgment in ways he could not yet imagine. The room was vast, its walls curved into a dome that seemed to stretch infinitely upward. Crystals shimmered in the light of Vera's twin suns, their reflections scattering across the polished floor. At the center floated a circular platform suspended in midair, surrounded by moving holographic obstacles, shifting light patterns, and pulsating energy fields. It was clear. This was the culmination of the night's challenges. Lyra hovered nearby, her golden eyes bright with expectation. "This trial is the final measure, Jason Hale," she said softly. "It is designed to test not only your strength, intelligence, and endurance, but also your spirit. Many have reached this point, and all have failed. You may succeed only by remaining human in every sense, clever, adaptable, resilient, and compassionate." Jason nodded. He felt his exhaustion, yes, from the labyrinth, the zero-gravity arena, and the emotional trials. But there was no fear, only determination. Humans were made to face impossible odds, and this was no different. He inhaled deeply and stepped forward. Immediately, the platform shifted beneath him. Holographic beams of light extended from the edges, forming walls, mazes, and moving patterns. Jason felt the air vibrate around him as the room tested him in 3 ways simultaneously. It challenged his mind with puzzles of shifting lights, his body with moving platforms and energy barriers, and his heart with illusions designed to evoke doubt, fear, and hesitation. The first obstacle appeared, a series of floating glyphs that formed a puzzle in mid-air. Jason's mind raced. He remembered the labyrinth, recalling how he had solved complex illusions by observing patterns rather than rushing. He studied the glyphs carefully, noting their motion and rhythm, and then reached out with steady hands. Each glyph snapped into place, triggering a small wave of energy that cleared part of the path. As he solved the puzzle, another challenge appeared. Platforms hovered in zero gravity, spinning and tilting in unpredictable patterns. Jason's muscles ached, but he moved with the precision and patience he had learned in the arena. Each jump, twist, and push was calculated. He used his momentum wisely, letting the environment guide him rather than fighting against it. But even as his mind and body were tested, the trial introduced emotional challenges. Holographic illusions of failure appeared around him. He saw himself trapped, falling endlessly into voids, or failing to save friends from danger. Each vision was designed to break confidence and provoke fear. Jason closed his eyes briefly, centering himself. "These are illusions. I know the truth. I am human. I endure. I adapt. I survive." When he opened his eyes, he continued, undeterred. The illusions flickered and warped around him, their power diminished by his steadfast focus. Humans, he realized, were unpredictable, not just because of ingenuity, but because of resilience and hope. No illusion, no test, could break that spirit. Hours seemed to pass, or perhaps minutes. Time was uncertain as it had been in the labyrinth, but Jason pressed on. He solved moving puzzles, dodged energy fields, leapt across unstable platforms, and navigated illusions designed to make him doubt his abilities. Each success gave him strength. Each challenge honed his focus. At one point, a holographic Veyran elder appeared, holding a glowing sphere. The elder's expression was unreadable. "To complete the final trial, you must make a choice," the hologram intoned. "This is not a choice of right or wrong, but of perspective, courage, and judgment. Choose wisely, for your decision reflects the strength of your spirit." Jason studied the sphere. It shimmered with images, visions of success, failure, triumph, and disappointment. He realized that the challenge was not merely about action, but about understanding consequences, empathy, and strategy. "I cannot rush this," he thought. "I must be human in the fullest sense." He took a deep breath and considered the options. One path promised ease, but at the cost of integrity. Another path demanded effort and risk, but offered genuine success. Jason knew which path to choose. With steady hands and unwavering heart, he acted, not for personal gain, but because it was the right course. The sphere pulsed, and a wave of light swept across the chamber. The holographic elder nodded approvingly. Lyra watched him, her expression unreadable at first, then breaking into a smile of genuine admiration. "Few have ever chosen correctly. Even fewer have endured everything to reach this moment. You, Jason Hale, have done what no human, or Veyron, has achieved before tonight. The chamber shifted one last time. The puzzles, platforms, and illusions dissolved into a serene light. Jason floated at the center, chest heaving, heart pounding, but triumphant. The final trial was complete. He had proven that the human mind, body, and heart were capable of facing the impossible, surviving it, and triumphing. Outside, the first light of Veyra's twin suns broke across the crystalline horizon. Golden beams bathed the city, painting the corridors and towers in warm hues. The night had been long, challenging, and unforgettable, and yet Jason felt exhilaration rather than exhaustion. Lyra descended beside him, her eyes glowing warmly. You have endured the labyrinth, the arena, and the trials of heart and culture. You have demonstrated ingenuity, adaptability, resilience, and compassion. You have proven that humans are not only capable of surviving the impossible, but of thriving through it. Jason smiled, a mixture of relief, pride, and quiet joy. Thank you, he said. But it wasn't just me. It's what humans do. We face the unknown, we adapt, we endure, and we never give up. Lyra's expression softened further. Indeed, and that is why you will be remembered among my people, not just as a suitor, but as a legend. Your endurance tonight has shown that the human spirit is extraordinary. It is not only strength, but creativity, empathy, and perseverance that make you remarkable. As they floated toward the exit, Jason looked out across the city of Veyra. Crystalline towers reflected the twin suns, casting patterns of light that danced across the streets. Alien spectators, Veyrons of all shapes and sizes, observed silently, some nodding, others whispering in awe. The human among them had succeeded where all others had failed. He turned to Lyra. So, what now? He asked, a faint grin on his lips. She laughed softly, a musical sound that echoed through the corridors. Now, Jason Hale, you are no longer just a visitor or a suitor. You are a bridge between worlds. You have shown that humans endure, adapt, and rise to challenges that even the most advanced beings find impossible. Your presence here proves that humanity can thrive anywhere, in mind, body, and heart. Jason's chest swelled with pride. He had faced challenges designed to test, break, and overwhelm. Yet, he had emerged stronger, proving not only his own abilities, but the remarkable nature of humans as a species. Lyra extended her hand, and Jason took it. Together they floated out of the final chamber, leaving behind trials that had tested everything he knew about himself. Outside, the city welcomed them in golden dawn light, a symbol of completion, triumph, and new beginnings. The night is over, Lyra said softly, and you have survived until dawn. You have endured what few could, and in doing so, you have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. Not just strength or intellect, but spirit. Jason looked at the twin suns rising over Veyra, feeling warmth and pride. Humans endure, he said quietly. We adapt, we rise, and we never give up. Lyra smiled. That is why you have succeeded. That is why humanity will continue to thrive among the stars. And that is why tonight you have become a legend. As dawn spread across Veyra, Jason felt a quiet joy settle within him. The trials had been grueling, testing every part of him, mind, body, and heart. But in the end, it was the human spirit that carried him through. Curiosity, ingenuity, empathy, resilience, and courage. The city's light shimmered on the crystalline towers, reflecting in Jason's eyes. Around him, the Veyrons observed with respect and wonder. A human had faced their legendary wedding night, endured every trial, and emerged triumphant. And somewhere deep inside, Jason knew this was more than a personal victory. It was proof that humanity, as a species, could face the unknown, thrive in adversity, and rise above impossible challenges. Lyra turned to him one last time, her expression soft and sincere. "The dawn is yours, Jason Hale. You have endured. You have triumphed. You have proven the human spirit unbreakable." Jason nodded, feeling a sense of completion and pride unlike anything he had known before. "Thank you, Lyra," he said. "But it wasn't just me. It was all humans. We survive, we adapt, and we rise to meet any challenge." Lyra's golden eyes glimmered. "Then let the stars remember this night. Let them remember the human who endured, adapted, and triumphed. Let them remember what humanity is capable of." As the twin suns rose fully over Vera, bathing the city in golden light, Jason Hale, human among stars, stood tall. He had faced impossible odds, endured challenges meant to break him, and emerged victorious. Not through sheer strength alone, not through intellect alone, but through the very essence of humanity, ingenuity, courage, adaptability, and spirit. The night was over. The dawn had come, and humanity had triumphed.